All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, however you are consuming this podcast. I do appreciate you guys very much. Big shout out because we are live on the video side anyway. We are live here Wednesday night. Imperial Pizza, 1035 Aber Road, deep in the heart of South Buffalo. And I'm joined right now for actually a second time at this same location.
I'm a two-timer.
You are now a two-timer here at Imperial Pizza. Spectrum News, sports anchor, a good buddy, Andy Young. What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, glad to have you. Glad to be here.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. I'm used to hosting a podcast myself.
You are. In fact, you just did a podcast not long before you were gracious enough with your time to come up here and do this one. As well. Got some full belly right now.
Yeah.
Just banged out some.
Wings are delicious, as always.
They really are. This is a really good, consistent, solid place. All right, so we had Chevetta's medium.
Delicious.
We had honey mustard, which I've told you this, man. I hate honey and I hate mustard, but for whatever reason, I love honey mustard wings, and then Merce, which are my personal favorite. In fairness, it's not unique to this place. It's kind of like a South Buffalo thing. You go to any watering hole in South Buffalo, you're going to be able to get you some Merce. But they're done really, really well here, man. I love this place. So thank you, Imperial, as always, for hosting this podcast. I got to say, before we get into the Bills, and we're obviously going to talk tons here of Bills Chiefs. This is a very big week for the Buffalo Bills. It's also a very big week for the Kansas City Chiefs. So we're going to kind of tackle some topics related to Buffalo and to that game as well. I was planning on, for a couple minutes of small talk.
Sure.
I was going to ask you about Carolina because the Bills did play in Carolina last week, and you obviously were on the road covering the team there. And then over the course of our wings there in Imperial, Atlanta came up, and you told me about a car that doesn't have a driver that, as an Uber, how do you label that? I'm still blown away. Andy showed me a video. I've never, personally, I mean, other people probably have. Me personally, I've never seen anything like that before. How did you end up in a car with no driver in Atlanta, of all places, man? That is wild. A driverless vehicle, Uber, whatever you want to call it, man. You showed me the video. Crazy.
Little liquid courage, right? Had a couple beers. We were out at a restaurant, in a bar.
Yeah.
Photographer that was along for the road trip to Atlanta with me. And he pulled up an Uber. It's time to go home. Time to go to the next spot. And he goes, "Oh, dude, they have Waymo here," which is Waymo, which is a driverless car. They're doing testing in certain cities throughout the country, Atlanta, Phoenix, different places. And it was one of the options on the Uber. You could have a driverless car. And he goes, "You want to do it?" I said, "Sure, why not? Let's do it." And the car pulls up to the restaurant we're hanging out at, pulls over to the side of the road. It's got a big monitor or camera, whatever it is, on top of the car, GPS, however it figures out where it needs to go and who's around it. And it pulls over on the side of the road. We get in the car, sit in the back seat. It starts talking to us, telling us not to mess with the things in the front. Don't hit the gas pedal. Don't grab the wheel.
That's wild.
And you could play music on the screen that sits in the console in the center there. So you could mess with it, and then off it drives. It signals. The steering wheel's moving. The gas pedal's going up and down. And we're sitting in the back going, holy crap, this is wild. I took a video of it. My buddy took a video of it too, and it's crazy. I said, after we got to our destination safely, that it's a better driver than me.
Really?
Through the city streets of downtown Atlanta. It was like probably a 10 block. It wasn't too far, but it weaved in and out of traffic. It made its right and left turns, and it dropped us off in a parking lot across from the next place that we were going to. And we took it back to the hotel after that. We called another one.
More than once.
We did it twice.
All right. Okay.
I left that part out when I was talking about this earlier.
What were your nerves like right before you got into the car?
I wasn't nervous at all. I was just amazed by it. Like, I wasn't scared or anything like that. I was like, whatever. What's the worst that could happen?
What's the worst that could happen?
A lot could happen.
I can tell you a lot of bad things that could happen, man.
I don't know. I've driven my car and dealt with some bad incidents there, so it couldn't have been worse than me. My wife will attest to that. And we got in, and we were just kind of like laughing and amazed because it was like so cool. I wasn't super nervous, but once it gassed up and accelerated a little bit, you're like, oh, okay, here we go.
You're not an expert in this field in the industry, obviously, at this point, but do you get a sense based on your experience, and you said that they're trying it in some places, that we're not all that far away where there might be, like, you know what, we're sitting there at the bar behind us, and we're banging away some beers, and we'll take an Uber back or whatever. Or are we far away, do you feel like, in this area?
It's going to happen. I mean, Buffalo's always one of the last places to get those kinds of things as far as mid-sized market cities across the country. But, I mean, it took a long time to get Uber here, right? Like, there was a whole fight over that, and with the cabbies and all that stuff that went on.
That's right.
Years and years of lobbying in the state legislature, all that sort of fun stuff. I'm throwing it back to my news days when I used to be a news reporter. But, it was a smooth ride. I mean, I do have concerns about the highway because you're going really fast, and if something happens there,
and
it's
especially
trouble.
in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. That's really cool, though.
Yeah, it was fun.
I almost want to go there to Atlanta now. I don't want to go watch a Braves game. I don't want to go watch a Falcons game. I want to go there and
driverless Uber, Waymo.
Driverless Uber,
yeah.
Waymo. I gotta try one of those.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question here. Got to switch into football. Right now, so this team is 5-2 going into this week. Okay, and obviously, it hasn't been the prettiest of wins. Does it feel to you right now, as a sports reporter and an anchor who covers this team, and you also have your finger on the pulse of the community and how the fans feel, does it feel to you right now that, like, you're covering a team that is 5-2? I know that sounds like a really dumb question on the surface, but when you go and you start to listen or read or watch or whatever, you're consuming what people think, it's really weird. Like, even this game, you were just in Carolina last week. By the way, holy shit, I could tell on TV, and you were in the stadium. Was it, let me ask you this before we get into my other question.
Okay.
Was it really that one-sided, it felt like, in terms of Bills fans? Like, it felt like the Bills fans legitimately were not the minority. A lot of times you'll hear, the Bills take over this and that, and there's maybe a couple thousand fans that are Buffalo fans, but it legitimately felt like watching it on TV. Like, there was as many Bills fans as there were Charlotte fans.
Yeah, I would say it was probably like 70%.
Wow.
Bills fans.
Wow.
It was crazy. Just seeing the amount of blue. And Atlanta, before the bye, was similar, not quite to that extent. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting next to, in the press box, a scout or somebody at quality control with the Panthers. And he goes, oh, man, Bills Mafia, you guys travel well. And we had a conversation about it. I said, well, there's a lot of transplants from Western New York that moved down to Charlotte, Atlanta, places like that. And it was just packed. I mean, yeah, Bills Mafia travels well, but a lot of those people, I think, were right down there. The streets, the guy said to me, man, you go out, you drive into the stadium in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's packed with red, white, and blue jerseys. I mean, that's just how it is. People, they get out early, they're walking around downtown. It's a different kind of tailgate scene than we're used to up here. And it's just, in the stadium, it was insane.
I got to tell you quickly here, and don't worry, I didn't forget about the question that we were going to talk about the Bills being 5-2. But with the fan base and just the way this team travels and the support that it gets, living in Florida for 5+ years, man, and I lived near Tampa, and I also lived there during a time where the Buccaneers were irrelevant, and then they weren't. Tom Brady signed with them during that time. Mm-hmm. They became winners. They literally won a Super Bowl while I was living there. And I'm not going to sit there and, just bash Tampa fans and say they didn't give a shit. I'm not going to go there. But what I can tell you unconditionally is the level of enthusiasm for people and how much they care about their football team, say in a market like Florida, compared to this market is literally, and I mean literally, night and day. Like, Tampa loses, oh well.
Yeah.
What else are we going to do the rest of this day?
Let's go to the beach.
Exactly. The Bills lose, that shit eats at you for days. I'm still not over the Atlanta game. I'm still pissed off a little bit about the Falcons game on Monday Night Football a couple weeks ago. It's just different. Football means more here than it does. I'm not going to say anywhere because there's other great markets. Green Bay, Pittsburgh, there's lots of passionate fan bases out there. But compared to some of them, like I said, when I lived in Florida, it was truly night and day. But anyway, back to my original question. You're covering this team. It doesn't feel like they're 5-2 to you right now, does it?
No, it doesn't. We actually had this conversation on our podcast a little earlier. It came up, and I was like, man, we're talking about all these negative things about a team that is, in essence, like half a game out of first place. They're right in the thick of it. They could still get the 1 seed, but there's so many issues that seem broader than just game to game. It's season-long things, and it's even things that have extended beyond this season. I mean, everybody's going to talk about wide receiver. Well, look, it's a problem.
It is.
It doesn't, like, you're not being a negative person. You watch the game, they can't throw the football right now.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
Yeah.
And so how this team is 5-2, they've had a pretty lousy schedule.
Sure.
They played some crappy teams. They had a miraculous comeback against Baltimore that was awesome. It was great. That was crazy. They said history. Some of the things had never been done before in that comeback win. But after that, you start to see some of those warts that people talked about and had concerns about going into the season start to pop up. And here we are. They're 5-2, and they just throttled the Panthers, and people are not happy about it, but for good reason.
Yes, and it's crazy because they won the game by 31 points. They won by 4.5 scores.
Dude rushed for over 200 yards.
James Cook ran for 216 yards, the first time anyone on the Bills has ran for over 200 yards since Fred Jackson in 2009. It was the most rushing yards by players in 49 years. But yet, yes, the passing game concerns, and there's concerns, a lot of concerns, and we're going to talk about a few of them here throughout this podcast. I'm just still taken back. Maybe I'm including myself in this, the fan base of the Buffalo Bills, maybe we've been a little spoiled by the success, spoiled by the play, of course, of Josh Allen. So when he's less than MVP level, you start to get, hyper worried, paranoid almost. To that point. For me, I don't know about you, but for me, I feel like, all right, so they beat Baltimore, highest of highs, and then they go to New York, a team that played Pittsburgh, if you remember, week 1, tooth and nail. They almost beat Pittsburgh, man, and so we're like, man, this is going to be a real test. And the Bills go down there, and they just absolutely dominated the Jets. I feel like the bad vibes in terms of how people feel about this team started with, I think, with the Saints game.
Yeah.
They won that game. But everybody expected the Bills to blow them out like they did against Carolina. And when that didn't happen, and Carolina played pretty well, except for the quarterback. Because I remember, if you remember earlier in the fourth quarter, I think it was Brandon Cooks. He cooked both safeties, man. He was wide open, and Rattler threw it low, and he didn't bring it in. If he makes that catch, I'm not saying the Saints win the game, but they're up 22-21 in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? It just felt like, to me, do you agree that was kind of like the start of bad vibes, and then obviously it led to 2 straight losses not long after that?
Yeah, that Jets game was interesting because it still felt clunky in terms of the offense.
Right.
Sure. But you're like, all right, that's a good defense. We thought, that whole thing, division rival, it's fine, right? Yeah. You still won by double digits. And then you get to that Saints game, and it's like, man, this just doesn't look right. And it continuously not looking right on both sides of the ball. Like, for a long time, the Bills have been a team that if one side struggled, the other side could bail them out. And it almost always happened, right?
Yeah.
This team, in that little stretch there, had not been that, right? Like, the defense was atrocious. Atrocious. To the point where we were talking about Bobby Babbitt potentially getting fired.
Yeah.
Right? Think about that first half in Atlanta. I mean, that was as bad of a defensive performance as I can remember.
It was literally as bad as I can remember. And, the New England game, losing at home, it sucked, but at the time, my thought process was, I'm just going to take my hat off to New England. I thought they played a good game. They outplayed the Bills. Drake May on that night outplayed Josh Allen. It's okay to say that.
And people thought that they are on the come-up.
Yes, exactly. But then to go to Atlanta and just lay that egg in the first half was inexcusable. And then you have to sit on it for a bye week, too, as well. How surprised were you being in Atlanta? Because there were a lot of Bills fans in Atlanta too. Maybe not as many as in Charlotte, but there were Bills fans were represented in Atlanta. You got a sense of the disappointment there, being in that stadium and just how bad they played. And what was the vibe like with the players in the locker room and stuff after that game too?
I mean, it's demoralizing from the players, for the fans, for people watching at home on TV because you see a team just get run up and down the field defensively, but we kind of thought that the Bills might not be great at defense this season. But the offense is what's so concerning, and then they just could not get out of their own way. They started out well, and then they have a nice drive to start the second half, and then that's it. And that's been the real concerning part. Like I said, neither side bailing the other out, and when it's offense with Josh Allen, like you have the MVP, and you're not able to move the football, but a couple of times a game, that looked really bad.
Yeah, and it looks really – and it's more frustrating when you see how bad Atlanta could be at times, too.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, you don't have to be an expert. They got Drake London. They got Bijan Robinson. Those two guys are really good. Let's find a way to try to slow them two guys down. And it would just –
They combined for 400 yards.
Oh, my God. It was painful.
Two guys.
It was literally
Mooney was not in the game.
No, I know. Oh, my God.
This is – we're reliving history here.
Yeah, you could literally get me upset.
Holy crap. I just, like, you knew going into that game you had to stop Bijan Robinson and Drake London, or just stop one of them. They couldn't do either.
My two takeaways from that game that just linger with me for probably a good 7 to 10 days was that's what it's like to have a number one receiver where even if you know he's going to get the ball, you find a way to get to him anyway. It reminded me of the Stephon Diggs, at his peak days here in Buffalo. And then the other thing I thought of with Bijan Robinson is I'm not saying James Cook is as good as Bijan Robinson, although James Cook is playing as good or better right now than he's playing as good as anybody right now. But it was the way they moved him around. It's like when he's just not going to line up right next to Michael Penix or right behind him, we're going to put him outside, we're going to put him in motion, we're going to do a lot of things, and we're going to find creative ways to get him the football. So I left that game being really mad at Joe Brady, which – I'm sure take a number if you're a Bills fan right now. You know what I mean? Which kind of goes back to what I was asking you to begin with. This is a 5-2 football team.
Yeah.
That's the weird part to me. That's what feels off right now for me.
It's all still in front of them.
Yeah.
But they've got to show, I mean, you hate to say style points, but just prove you can be competent moving the football offensively outside of James Cook having a 200-yard day. If they go and play the Chiefs and Josh goes for 260, 2 touches, and he rushes one in, and they score 28 to 35 points, whatever the outcome is, people will feel a lot better about that than they do if it's, a 17-10 loss and they can't move the football all night long.
Yeah. Honestly, Andy, it's confusing to me, though, too, because there's a part of me that's like, well, there's nothing better than being able to run the football. You can run the football in Buffalo in October. You can run the football in a blizzard in Cleveland in December. Running the football is key, and being able to run play action effectively and things off that and not turn the ball over, which the Bills, minus that, little recent stretch now, going back to last year, they're just so good at not turning the football over. But then I'm like, okay, man, you got just a unicorn at quarterback. And I know that word gets thrown out there a lot with Josh Allen, but it's true. It fits him.
He's the prototype for that.
Yeah, he is the prototype for a unicorn. That's a great point. So it's like I don't know how to feel, but I do know how to feel about this. So the Carolina game, there's a part of me that feels like, they won the battle for sure, but did they lose the war? And what I mean by that is the Bills got back to practice on Wednesday, and the best player on the defense is not out there. And unless they get to the title game or maybe the Super Bowl, and maybe not even then, he's not going to be there for the rest of the season. Of course, I'm talking about Ed Oliver. I feel, Andy, that late last year, all right, so a couple years a row in the playoffs, I thought Ed Oliver was terrible, and I kind of was just blasting away, maybe unfairly so, at him. He was looking good in the regular season. If you go back and watch the older KC games, the Bengals game, when they lost in the divisional round, he's nowhere to be found. He's not on the stat sheet. He did nothing. And then last year, when no one else was doing anything on defense, Ed Oliver played fantastic. My point is, I feel like he turned the corner. He matured as a player, and it felt like he was really, truly hitting his prime. And then this year, forget about winning. I think they get blown out if it's not for him against Baltimore.
Yeah.
Literally. I think they get blown out if it's not for Ed Oliver. He gets hurt. He comes back. He's got 3 sacks in 2.5 games, and then bam, torn bicep. I guess my question for you is, how do you overcome that if you're the Buffalo Bills right now, who have kind of struggled some on defense. They put in some, they've been inconsistent. Let's put it that way on defense. How do you overcome that? And B, is it looking pretty obvious to you that they're going to try to overcome this internally?
I go back and forth on whether they are internal with this or maybe they try to bring somebody in. Mm-hmm. Like I saw that they brought in Gabe Davis for a tryout, nose tackle. I've brought up Harrison Phillips as a potential guy.
Sure.
Like he's not an all-pro, but he's a body.
Yep.
He's reliable, knows the system. I could see that potentially happening. I don't know if the Jets want to trade him in division, but it probably wouldn't cost you a whole lot.
No, not in that case.
Right. I mean, you got to see what happens here with Daquan Jones. I know they don't play the same position, but it all trickles down because some of those guys can rotate and play multiple positions. For right now, I mean, you bring up Jordan Phillips, who isn't the best run stopper in the world, right? Mm-hmm. And he's on the 53-man roster. Yeah. I think everybody can universally say they've really liked the potential they've seen in Deion Walker. Really good, right?
Yes. Where would this unit be right now? I can't believe I'm saying this.
Yeah.
The defensive tackle position. All right, so let's go back to training camp. You have Ed Oliver. You have Daquan Jones. You have Larry Ogunjobi, although he's going to be suspended for 6 games. You have Dwayne Carter.
Right.
There's like an overflow. You have T.J. Sanders, who you moved up in round 2 to go get. And then you also move up in round 4 and you go get Deion Walker, who, and I'm sure you remember, you covered the team. He was going to be brought along slowly. You know, the back issue at college. And I remember Brandon Beane, and I'm not going to lie, I said, Brandon Beane, you're full of shit at the time. Oh, if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, he might have been a first-round pick.
Yeah.
If he would have came out the year before that. I'm like, really? Well, yes, because you're seeing why.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know, you can play a little bit this and that. But now you look, fast forward, Dwayne Carter's out for the year. Ed Oliver is almost certainly out for the year. T.J. Sanders, who knows when and if he's coming back. He's been in an IR, so that's 3 guys.
Right.
Ogunjobi's been suspended. And Daquan Jones, he popped his calf in warm-ups against Atlanta. He's been out for, 2 games now. He did not practice here on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. I would have guessed. I'm guessing. I don't know. But I'm guessing he's probably not going to play this week either. So I get my question to you again is where would that unit be were it not for Deion Walker right now? It's wild to say that.
He's been a revelation because if that guy hits at the way he's playing now and continues to grow in his role, stays healthy, learns the NFL game, to be that size and that quick and show burst both in run defense. I mean, how many times do we see him just crash through looking as quick as that Oliver and make a play in the backfield?
And he's so big.
Yeah, he's massive. My God, he's huge. So, I mean, they're going to have to kind of stem the tide here for a little bit, whether they make a trade or pull somebody else up. I don't know exactly how that's all going to go. One thing I do know, they probably won't just lean on 3 guys, but I could see if the 4th guy's up there and he's not a super reliable guy, something we saw in the Panthers game, Michael Hoyt, kicking inside, especially on passing downs.
Good point.
He's a former defensive tackle, started there with the Rams, slimmed down, moved to the edge, and played a variety of positions, outside linebacker for them. So he's a guy, certainly motor-wise, capability-wise, on that NASCAR kind of package on 3rd downs, and it's 3rd and 8, and we got to get after a guy, put him out there. And they did some of that in the Panthers game.
It's kind of wild to think this way, too. I remember during camp, I'm like, all right, well, again, if you got Ed and Daquan, then you got TJ and Deion Walker, and Dwayne Carter makes the roster as your 5th guy. You're not going to give up on him after 1 year. He's a 3rd-round pick. I'm like, Larry Ogunjobi suspended for the first 6 games. If they stay healthy, Larry Ogunjobi may never see a snap for the Bills. Right. That's what I was thinking in training camp anyway. Now suddenly he's a vital part of this unit alongside the 4th round, not the 2nd-round rookie, but the 4th-round rookie, Deion Walker, is just, man, it's crazy to me. Let me ask you, you were at practice today, right?
Yes.
All right. Sean McDermott spoke, and maybe I read his comments a little bit wrong, so maybe you could clarify this.
Try me.
I'll try you. All right. So last week, Matt Milano was inactive. Terrell Bernard was active, but he was break glass in case of emergency with Shaq Thompson, Dorian Williams, and then Joe Andreessen in 3 linebacker looks. Those were your starters. Bernard did not end up having to play. We don't know if he would have. If it would have been a different game. Who knows? We don't know. I will say, too, I think Shaq Thompson has been the best Bills linebacker, in my eyes anyway, for at least the last month. I think he has performed and played as good or better than any other linebacker on this team. And I'm including Terrell Bernard. Anyway, fast forward today being Wednesday for people listening to this on Thursday at practice. Terrell Bernard was full go at practice with the ankle, and Matt Milano was full go at practice with the pec. Now, Jack Thompson was limited, right?
Yes.
He was limited today with a calf, I believe, which was a early season injury. Sean was kind of asked if, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, if Milano and Bernard are healthy and good to go, are they starting? And Sean McDermott, unless I'm reading the tea leaves wrong, Andy, you tell me, did not commit to that.
He did
kind of
not.
said, we'll see.
Right.
So is there a chance that we could see, it's a two-part question, is there a chance we could see a healthy Terrell Bernard and a healthy Matt Milano on the sidelines to start a game against the Kansas City Chiefs while Shaq Thompson and Dorian Williams are your starter? That's part one. And part two, what kind of indictment would that be against those linebackers if they are healthy non-starters, especially considering one of them is literally one of only two captains on this team and a guy that Brandon Beane gave a very handsome extension to just this offseason?
Something tells me that might have been a little message job by Sean McDermott.
Okay. Makes
Possibly.
sense.
To get those guys fired up. Like, look, I think the way the Panthers looked, the Bills looked against the Panthers in the linebacker core was the best it looked in a while.
Yeah.
I thought Shaq Thompson, I agree with you 100%, has been their best linebacker for quite a stretch here.
Yeah.
I thought Dorian Williams played good in that game, and
He
even
did.
Joe Andreessen in there
Sure.
a little bit as the third linebacker in the heavy sets. And I wondered, would they possibly not start the former All-Pro Matt Milano and their captain, their starting middle linebacker? I don't think it'll get to that point, but I do think they want to see how the injuries play out throughout the week. Sean doesn't like to box himself into corners with that stuff.
Sure.
So that could be part of it. And part of me wonders, is he trying to say, guys, we need more out of you? Because I think Sean was asked, do you need more out of Terrell Bernard if he's healthy and ready to go? And he kind of hemmed and hawed the way Sean does. But I certainly think that they need more of what they saw a year ago or 2 years ago from Terrell Bernard than what they've gotten so far this season.
They have not gotten the Terrell Bernard that I think, I said Oliver week one against Baltimore, they don't win without him. They absolutely do not beat the Ravens in the playoffs last year without Terrell Bernard.
Right.
Two hugely impactful plays. Minus a Tua interception this year, which is Tua. Terrell Bernard, generously, I'm going to say he has struggled this season. Well, at least when you factor in what his bar should be.
Yeah.
Again, he is your captain. He is your leader. He is a playmaking middle linebacker. He's never been, nor will he be, a run-stuffing linebacker, the prototype linebacker. He's undersized. He makes up for that by hitting gaps first, by getting sacks, by forced fumbles, interceptions. He just
Always getting to the ball.
He's got a really great nose for the football. But if he's not doing that, then he becomes a liability out there because he's getting swallowed up in blocks. He's taking bad angles. He has not tackled well, and he has struggled in pass coverage. I'm with you, though. I think it's message. I don't think you bench him healthy. Now, is Matt Milano another story, though, because of the pack and how many times he's been injured? Like, can you see a scenario on Sunday? Let's just assume Shaq, because Shaq can play either spot, and he has played either spot. I like Dorian Williams. He played well. He's also had some really bad games, too, this season. I don't need to see him starting ahead of Matt Milano. I'm just going to put that out there. Maybe that's just me. But could you see a scenario where it's Bernard and Shaq Thompson over a healthy Matt Milano?
I think if Shaq Thompson is healthy and whatever he's dealing with, he might have earned a shot to play consistently.
Yeah.
Now, I do find it interesting that maybe the Bills are kind of switching things up on defense. They've been known to just play their same guys all the time. All the guys stay on the field. But I think there's been more willingness this season. We saw it against the Panthers to move guys in and out based on matchups. Maybe give guys a little rest, get a break. We saw Hancock come in on passing downs for Poyer at safety. We saw Andreessen go in the game. These different things, right?
Yeah.
Moving Hoyt inside to tackle on passing downs. I think there's a willingness to say, all right, we don't maybe have the horses in the same way that we did 4 or 5 years ago with that Bills defense when they were consistently in the top 5 in the league. So maybe we've got to play some matchup ball. We've got to get guys out there and play to their strengths, and we can't have guys out there for the entire game playing everything except for the defensive line that rotates.
It's a good point. All right, so we are live here at Imperial Pizza, 1035 Abbott Road in South Buffalo. Eddie Young joining me. Great conversation. Again, this is your second podcast of the night.
I didn't butcher it the first time, right? So that I got invited back.
No, I love having you on, man. I love talking sports. I love just shooting the shit with you.
Yeah.
Chilling out, having some wings. All right, one more thing I got to ask you about, then I want to talk Bills Chiefs specifically here, is a revelation of sorts. Practice again today on Wednesday. Gabe Davis activated to the practice squad. So he's off IR. Now he's on the practice squad, which I didn't know, but I found out. So the Bills, you get 8 designations, IR designated to return per year. The Bills just used one of them on Gabe Davis.
And the practice squad has its own IR, which is kind of its own deal. It's a separate deal.
Okay.
So there's a practice squad reserve injured list that's separate from the regular IR.
Okay, well, then I'm wrong there. I thought they were using one of the 8 on him. They might use one of the 8 on Tyler Bass. We'll see how that goes this week with the kicker. But anyway, back to Gabe. He's back out there, and, God, I don't know what to think in terms of reaction. There was such a mix of, a lot of people like Gabe Davis. He did some good things. A lot of people do not want to see Gabe Davis be the solution to what is ailing the Bills' passing game. I don't know any other way to put it. How did he look to you from what you've seen? And do you see a scenario where Gabe Davis is up on the active roster? Obviously not this week. That's not going to happen. But sometime relatively soon. And do you think that it is potential? Well, we'll say imminent. Because I think it's imminent anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. But is imminent promotion to the active roster, is that going to be the move? You think that if the Bills make anything at receiver, it's going to be that? Because there are going to be a lot of unhappy people if that ends up being the case.
Yeah, I think that it's going to happen. I agree that he will get the call up at some point. He looked pretty good in practice. He looked like the Gabe I remembered from a couple of years ago. Never the fastest guy in the world, never the shiftiest guy in the world, but just he's an athlete.
Sure.
Yeah, right? And he didn't look like he had a limp or anything. He's coming off a torn meniscus. Had a little sleeve on his knee. But he looked fine. He joked about it after practice. Brady gave him the first rep with Josh.
Did he really?
Yeah, which was cool. So the first guy up, normally we're not allowed to talk about reps and who's with who.
Right.
But he said it himself, so I can say it.
Sure.
He gets the first run is when they do wide receivers against air, and it's Josh to Gabe, like old times.
It certainly has a feel that he is going to be up. And let me be clear, too. That's not necessarily a criticism. I'm making it sound like, great, Gabe Davis is going to be on the Bills. Because,
people are looking for a greater solution.
Sure.
A big play guy.
Sure.
Big name.
Sure.
Right?
Like we're seeing Jordan Phillips active now. We're seeing Jordan Poyer. Both of them are now active. We're seeing Micah Hyde last year. Lloyd ended up playing a lot. It's like a reunion, and I understand both schools of thought. I want to be clear on my stance. I think Gabe Davis could help the team. Mm-hmm. I do. I just don't think he's what you're missing. Right. He could be a better version offensively, I think, of what they have with Tyrell Shavers right now. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, or maybe that's a bad comparison. But because Tyrell Shavers does some good things, and he's a pretty good blocker. But my point is, Gabe Davis is a good blocker. Mm-hmm. He can get down the field. He's a big body. I could come up with, all right, well, if Tyrell Shavers is the 5th or 6th receiver on your team, all right, well, I'll give me Gabe Davis over that. But I still don't think that fixes what ails them the most, and that's that guy who can get down the field. Is that guy Josh Palmer, but he's hurt.
Right.
What do you think of Josh Palmer right now? I'd like to see a little more of a body of work.
Yeah, I was really optimistic about the additions of Palmer and Moore in the spring and into the summer. And I think the skill sets are there. For whatever reason, it hasn't fully clicked. And then, of course, he finally starts to get it rolling, it looks like, against Atlanta. They open right up with a deep shot to Palmer, right? And he's open.
Yeah.
And then he gets hurt. Yeah. I mean, so you're just snake bitten there. I like Palmer, but I don't think he hasn't broken out for a reason, right, in his career. So he's not necessarily going to be a star, but I think he can be serviceable and a good player, like a good starting receiver. I mean, do you rather have Gabe Davis playing the X or Keon Coleman right now?
I'd rather have Gabe Davis.
That's where a lot of people are, right? And people that said, all right, we need to get – people when Gabe was here were saying we need to add another guy to go with Diggs.
Yeah.
Even before those guys left.
If they were to do that, and I know this is not an easy question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. If it got to a point where they go with Gabe Davis taking X snaps away from Keon Coleman, how do you come back from that when it comes to Keon Coleman? I don't know how you come back from that. I don't know how you come back from that. If you make that move and you decide that in critical parts of games and Gabe Davis is up on the active roster and you have Khalil Shakir and either Samuel or Palmer and your third receiver is Gabe Davis and it's not Keon Coleman, I don't know how you come back from that.
Yeah, it's tough unless they try to move him inside to a big slot. But then you're dealing with guys that are replicates of each other.
Yeah.
Shakir is a small slot. Kincaid is your big slot.
Right, and it's been effective.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's tough. I don't think the Bills are quite ready to give up on Keon Coleman. They invested a lot of time and energy into him. All the messaging throughout the offseason, right?
You don't want to be, if you're a general manager, and this is not a knock, this is not me ripping on Brandon Beane. If you're 31 other GMs too, you got a pride pack. You don't want to be wrong. You don't want a guy who you took in the beginning of round 2 to be a bust in a year and a half.
Right.
Nobody wants that. That's not Brandon. Nobody would be fine with that. You know what I mean? You want to make that work. I think Cole Bishop's another guy who, the Bills really want him to work because he's a second round. Now, I think Cole Bishop is starting to come around, and I see a future for Cole Bishop. I don't know. I'm not saying I don't. I'm saying I don't know that I see a good future with Keon Coleman. I fear with Keon Coleman that what we've seen is what you're going to get. You're going to get 2 games, 3 games where Baltimore game, the Seattle game last year where he just went up and was a man amongst boys.
Reek Woolen.
Yeah. You're going to get a couple games like that. And then you'll get a couple games where he's decent, and then you're going to get a bunch of these 2 for 20, 3 for 19-yard receiving games.
You know who else did that? Gabe Davis.
Yeah, that is very true. People got revisionist history some with Gabe Davis. 2 years ago, people wanted Gabe Davis gone. He had a lot of those games.
He'd have 0 for 0s. He'd have goose egg games.
It's fair to say that their careers, draft status aside, but their careers have kind of been
similar size.
Gabe's had a couple games where he was literally unstoppable. And Keon's had a couple of those games, but then there's been way too many games where drops, bad production, they don't get open, they're not separating from the corners. So I agree with you. If you're going to have Gabe up, having Gabe and Keon on the field at the same time does not seem like a solution to what's your problem already.
No, and you're not playing the other one at Z at a flanker, right? Like Diggs' old position or Palmer's position. That doesn't make sense either.
Sure.
So one is at the expense of the other, I would think.
Let me explain to you and to everybody what my biggest fear is with this game and this season right now. All right, and I'm being honest. Trust me, I don't sit there and I don't try to pretend like I don't want the Bills to win or I don't care if the Bills win. Guess what? I care if the Bills win, and I got no problems saying that. Now, I'll be objective in how I talk about the team. Sometimes I'll be angry fan Pat. It happens. But here's my honest-to-God assessment right now with this team. I am afraid that the Bills have already had their best chance to beat the Chiefs. The last 3 of the 4 times they've played in the playoffs, I think the Bills have been as good or better than Kansas City every year. The Chiefs have struggled some on offense at certain times. You go back to last year, they should have won that game. The Bills should have won that game. Make a couple more plays, you win that game. I thought it was coaching last year. I thought they were badly outcoached. I remember Greg Mazzell telling you guys that the Chiefs were doing things on offense that they weren't ready for. I'm like, how does that happen? Well, it did happen. And the Bills were a little too predictable. The whole James Cook not getting touches at the end, all that stuff. Added all
They weren't
up.
ready for that blitz on the last play to Kincaid.
Exactly. Yeah. So to me, it was coaching was a big factor last year. The year before that in Orchard Park, injuries, detrimental. Bernard didn't play. Benford didn't play. A.J. Klein got off his couch and had to play middle linebacker.
They almost called you.
They almost did call me, and I wouldn't have helped much. But it was bad. I mean, and then Diggs has a drop. Trent Sherfield has 2 drops, 2 huge drops. Why is Trent Sherfield being a big part of your offense? Anyway, I thought the Bills were the better team. You go back the year before that, well, they lost to the Bengals, but the Bills were just burnt out. The DeMar Hamlin thing, I just think that team was out of gas. And then, of course, 13 seconds. I mean, what more do you need to say besides 13 seconds? Anyway, my point was I thought the Bills were as good or better than Kansas City in every single one of those seasons. This year, I'm being honest with you, I don't see that right now. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are loaded on offense. Mahomes playing great now. He's got 3 great receivers, the running back. Who cares about who the running backs are?
Right.
Kelsey's still good. He's not washed up. And they got Brown. They got Rice. They got Worthy. There's a lot of weapons.
Tyquan Thornton.
Yes. Juju Schuster might have 100
Right.
yards in this game. Seriously, who the hell knows with this team?
Gray,
man?
the tight end.
They're
the other tight
loaded.
end.
They're loaded,
Yeah.
and they're playing good offense. The last couple times we've played the Chiefs in the regular season, the offense has been a struggle, and they've been winning because of defense and lucky plays, lucky bounces. That's how the Chiefs got their record this past couple of years. Am I really off base right now? No. The Bills have a very good chance of winning this game. They have a good chance of winning the AFC, just like not everybody else, but a handful of teams. But that's how I feel. How do you feel like I'm wrong where I say that I'm afraid that the Bills already squandered their best opportunities to beat a team that was ripe to be beat and they couldn't get it done?
Yeah, I think there is something to that. I think there is a piece of fans, and I think watching this team that says, man, didn't the Chiefs look like a souped-up Steelers last year?
Yes.
Like lucking into wins, just winning close games, all these sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a matter of time before Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes figured it out with their skill position players and helped the offensive line, right? They swung in one direction. They beefed up their defense. They traded away Tyreek Hill with the same kind of mindset that I think the Bills have had. All right, we're going to let Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the world, supposedly, raise all ships, right? Be the tide that raises all ships. But they found out, and they still got to the Super Bowl by doing this, they found out that it's a little easier for that quarterback to be even better when you surround him with talent. Mm-hmm. They struck out on some draft picks. Sky Moore. They brought in Kadarius Toney. They tried, right?
Yeah.
They were trying to upgrade those spots, but it looks like they hit on Rice. They hit on Worthy. And then, you bring in Hollywood Brown and Schuster and these different guys to fill in those bit spots. Now, if you take that defense with Spags and Chris Jones and those guys that they have over there that's still playing pretty well and combine that with an offense like they used to have, good luck. Now, that's not to say that I don't think the Bills can beat them this week or potentially down the road.
Same.
But it does feel like they've let a couple of really good chances slip past them, especially, 13 seconds. Like you said, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But the last 2 years, right? You had them at home, and then you had them in a close game on the road, and you couldn't get it done.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and it's worrisome for me that way. All right, so as for this particular matchup, I have also felt over the I'm talking about regular season now, both teams want the game. Kansas City doesn't want to come to Buffalo and lose. They don't want to get beat by the Bills. But I feel like it's another game to them, and in their mind, it's all about January. And, great teams do this in other sports, too. Like, teams, I don't say they coast, but they're focused on winning the championship. It's not beating a team in the regular season necessarily. I feel like the game has meant a little more to the Bills during the regular season, whether it's measure of revenge, whatever you want to call it. And the Bills have been successful now against them in the regular season. What, 4 straight?
4 in a row.
4 in a row. But this feels a little different to me, too, because we know the Bills are in a dogfight right now in their own division because New England has really come on, and you look at their schedule, and they're going to be there because, if nothing else, how many easy games they got. So the Bills are in a dogfight right now, but so are the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs they can't lose this game. They're in a dogfight right now with the Chargers.
They're in third place.
Denver, they're in third place.
But in all the power rankings, they're one.
Right. So I looked it up. I wrote it down to make sure I don't screw it up. But this is pretty athletic. In terms of what this game means with playoffs. So if the Bills lose this game on Sunday, this is a pretty athletic machine. There's still an 84% chance they make the playoffs. But only a 25% chance of winning the AFC East. And only a 5% chance of getting the number 1 seed. So if they lose this game, they only got a 25% chance of winning the AFC East or 5% chance. Now those numbers could change, but that's what it is right now. Almost similar with the Chiefs. 85% playoffs even if they lose. 38% to win the AFC West, so that drops for them. And same, 5% to get the number 1 seed. So when you look at it that way, this game, you don't want to, base your whole season on it, Andy, but this game means a lot to both teams.
Yeah.
In the standings, you forget about the rivalry or 13 seconds, or last year even. This year, 2025 season, this is a very meaningful game for both teams.
That's why I've always thought it was kind of ludicrous when people would say, oh, just call me in January. Let me see him beat him in the playoffs. Well, part of getting to the playoffs is winning as many games as you can in the regular season, and it's really unfortunate they beat him 4 times in a row in the regular season and still didn't manage to get the 1 seed. Yeah. That seems crazy.
It is crazy.
That seems crazy.
Yeah.
But you're right. This game does feel different because both teams are in trail mode, yet are still thought of in the same regard, right? I think the Bills' luster nationally is kind of slipping right now, especially after those 2 losses where it was just ugly. Just ugly.
But they've done that before.
Yeah, the same thing has happened time and time again. They always lose 2 straight games, and they look crappy in the middle of the season. They always look great in September, right? And then they have this little lull, and then they rally back through it. I am concerned, if you're a Bills fan, about New England because I don't think they're going away.
No.
At all.
Not with that schedule.
And I think
and Drake May's playing great, too.
Drake May looks really good.
Yeah.
Like, they found their guy. Now, look, listen, we said that with C.J. Stroud a couple of years ago, and I still think he's a franchise guy for Houston, but he's not what he was looking like when he was a rookie, and he looked like he was in a top 5 position as a rookie. So things can happen, right? But the way Vrabel is a consistent winner, right? Always has his guys in the right place, playing tough. You knew he was going to beef up their defense. I'm just surprised a little bit about how good May has been. Like, he's playing at an all-pro level.
He looks really good,
Yeah.
man. Well coached. That is a good balanced team, which, by the way, they made 2 more trades this week. They didn't pick up 2 guys. They got rid of 2 guys.
Yeah.
Don't blink. That team got over $60 million in cap space.
Right.
And they're going to get 1 more year out of their rookie quarterback on a rookie deal before he goes and he breaks the bank. So they're not no.
It's like 2019, 2020
yeah,
Allen.
yeah. That's exactly what it feels like right now in some ways. So they're not going anywhere. So, yes, this is a very big game. What I like most going into this game from a Buffalo Bills perspective, and you can speak on this because you cover the team, you're in the locker room. Isn't this team a collection of guys that seems to play better when people don't believe in them?
They always have been.
They're the underdogs. Like it's only a 1.5, but they are the underdogs in this game on their home field where they've only lost like once out of their last like 16, 17 games or something crazy like that. So they're the home underdogs. It just feels to me, Andy, that they have just played better when people just don't think they're going to win or do something. That's like when they play their best.
I don't know if it takes some of the pressure off, but it's pressure in another way because they need to win, right? Like their back's against the wall a little bit, that sort of thing, and they're not thought of in the power rankings as number 1, which they were after 4 weeks, 1 or 2 with the Eagles or Detroit or whomever it might have been at the time when people are talking about those teams. And Josh plays a little better in these situations, I feel like, too. And he's due for a big game. Whether he has the horses out there to get it, but there's something been off with him, too. I mean, he even mentioned it, that he was not trusting his feet and his eyes in that last game. And maybe that's because he knows he has so few opportunities because they're running the ball so much. He has so few opportunities to make a big play. He feels like he's got to hit it. Like he missed the one to Elijah Moore. Would have been a big gainer down the field. So I think he needs to play a little better in these situations, and usually he rises to the situation in big primetime games, even if they lose, right?
Yeah.
There's been very few times where they had a big game like that and he played poorly. They might lose the game, but he plays well.
Do you know, I remember, Andy, sitting in this same bar, Imperial Pizza, last year before the regular season started. Jay Skursky of the Buffalo News was my guest, and we were having like a season preview chat, and Nate Gary was there too. Mm-hmm. And Nate actually was kind enough to let us get a couple words in during the show. Like, I think he maybe had to go to the bathroom or something, so we were able to get some words in. But anyway, no, seriously, I love you, Nate. Jay, so Jay was talking. I remember going into the season because there were some doubters a little bit with Josh Allen because they had lost Diggs. They got rid of a lot of their core players. That was when they got rid of Trey, the safeties, Gabe Davis. They lost a lot. And I remember Jay saying that Josh is going to have a big chip on his shoulder because people aren't believing in him now, in this offense, in this team. and then he went out and he won the MVP. I think Josh Allen, maybe he's not trying to hear the noise. How could you not hear some of the noise that is brewing right now with the way he is playing? Not to mention, like, he doesn't know that he's not playing his best right now. Trust me, I'm sure you know this. He knows that he's not playing up to what his standard personally is. Now, is that all his fault? Absolutely not. Guys ain't getting open. I do think there is based on what I see anyway, it feels like there's a little bit of a trust issue. He doesn't have a lot of faith in to make some of these throws at times. So there's lots of factors. It's just not, hey, Josh, you're not playing well. It's much more nuanced than that. But I do think I think if you're going to have a time where you're going to come out and show the world who you are, it's going to be this game. Now, last year when they played, he won the AFC Offensive Player of the Week.
Right.
When he played against the Chiefs.
That touchdown at the end of the game.
Yep, the run. It was incredible.
Yep.
I kind of feel like he's primed to have that. I feel like the anger and inner anger maybe is built up a little bit in him right now. And which, by the way, do you put any stock whatsoever? Because I think it's a stupid take, and maybe you disagree with me, but any of his passion, his fire is gone. Like, we've heard a little, he's married now, and he's in every commercial. I mean, he is in every commercial. That's just true. But
my kid loves the Snickers commercial.
Dude, he's
the
great.
kids in oh my god,
dude, he's a charismatic guy, and he's a good-looking dude, and he's an MVP quarterback. Why would he not be in every commercial? But anyway, you don't get any kind of sense that, like, he's lost his edge, do you? You know what I mean?
No, I don't see that at all. And I think they're just going through one of those lulls which they've had in the past, right? Like last season, who thought that Everybody Eats was going to work? Not a lot of people, and it did. Right?
He went 9 for 30 against Houston last year in that game. It was pathetic. It was awful. One of the worst games of his career. Have you seen the movie Major League 1 and 2?
Yes.
Well, 1 for sure,
yeah.
but 2.
Yeah.
If you remember 2, I kind of joked. I was making a joke. You know how Charlie Sheen was the Rebel, the Outlaw on 1, the mean fastball, take no shit, and then he became corporate Charlie Sheen.
Yep.
Like Josh Allen this year.
Trying to get the
mean?
girl, the whole deal.
Yeah, exactly. And he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to throw the fastball.
Right.
Invent stupid pitches and shit. I've joked that that's Josh, but obviously I'm joking. I would be very surprised if Josh Allen does not come out and play a good game, but he needs help. He needs help.
He does.
And these receivers. All right, so maybe they make a trade before Tuesday, and maybe they don't. Maybe Gabe Davis comes up and helps him a little bit down the road. Maybe he doesn't, but it's not going to be Sunday. No Josh Palmer.
It might happen Sunday.
Whoa.
So I didn't think there was a chance in hell that we'd see Maxwell Hairston.
That's true.
And then all of a sudden he's ready to go, and he's active, and he plays half the game.
That's true. Maybe I misspoke.
I mean, I'm not saying that I think it's going to happen.
You're saying
but
it's
I wouldn't
not out of the realm of
It is not
possibility.
out of the question that Gabe Davis plays this week.
I would be floored.
I would be too.
That would be wild.
But it's not out of the especially after what they did with Hairston.
Okay, now, this goes back to what we talked about 15 minutes ago. I don't know that I love that.
Yeah.
Because now you're on a field with Gabe Davis and Keon Coleman on the field at the same time. I just don't feel like that works. But what the hell do I know? I mean, shit.
We're sitting here, right?
Yeah, we're sitting here, just 8 wings and whatever. But
talking to the ether, right?
That is all right. But here was my point. Let's assume he doesn't play.
Yeah. And
I will acknowledge that you're right. It's not out of the realm of possibility that he does. But let's just assume he doesn't. These guys got to step up, man. And I'm gonna call one guy specifically, and that's Curtis Samuel. I'm very disappointed because I want to believe in this guy, and I want to say that it's the injuries, that just keep him down, and they have kept him down. But I go to this Carolina game, and yeah, man, again, you score 40 points. Let's pump the brakes on being too critical. He didn't have a target. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you, I can almost guarantee you, he better get some targets on Sunday, assuming he's playing. He better get some, because I don't think Josh Palmer is going to play. They need him, is what I'm telling them. They need him. And some of that's on Joe Brady, too. But they need him to be able to make plays. They have to be. Curtis Samuel has to be a playmaker on this team.
I don't understand. Like, a guy like Curtis Samuel, who's had some measure of success, never been a star in the league, but has been a player, has had capable seasons, under this offensive coordinator in another place. Elijah Moore, 56 and 60 catches with Cleveland the last couple of years. Yeah. So is this something more systemic? about the Bills' offense. And
Makes you wonder.
It's just, I can't believe that those guys can never get open for whatever reason, ever at all. And here's the other part about it. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Like, thinking about how much they run the ball, those guys never really get a chance to get in a rhythm. Josh, like, when you're running the ball that much and Allen only gets 19 throws or whatever it was in that last game, or 21 throws, that's not a lot.
No.
So when you miss a couple when you've thrown 40 times a game, that doesn't hurt as bad as when you do when you throw 20. And so those guys aren't getting the reps. They're not getting the rhythm in the game to get going. And I think even Brady has mentioned that. Hey, we need to get a couple of guys some shots early, get them warmed up and into the game. I think he mentioned it with Kincaid a few weeks ago. I think that stuff matters. I think Brady has to do a better job getting those guys open and utilizing them the right way. But I also think it is on them, because I watch some of the All-22. I look at some of the games.
Sure.
There are a lot of plays where there's just literally nothing happening for Josh.
No. A lot of plays, like that 11-second sack on.
So I don't think go ahead.
Should he have got rid of the ball at some point? Sure, all right. But I mean, you're running around for 6, 7, 8 seconds, and nobody could get open. And look, I feel like that's definitely a factor in it too. You look at a guy like Samuel, because everything we said about Elijah Moore this year, well, he had pretty good production with crappy quarterbacks. We said that about Curtis Samuel last offseason, and now they have one of the greatest quarterbacks, and their production has still been
worse than it ever has been.
Yes. So, like, how much is on them? How much is on the coordinating or not? I don't know. Here's what I do know, though. We can talk about the Chiefs. We've talked about the Chiefs' offense and how lethal it is. The defense isn't quite that good, but, man, they still got Chris Jones. They got McDuffie. They got Bolton. They got some good players. And they also have Spags. And the other key for the Bills, I think, to be successful and win this football game is you can almost guarantee you Spags is going to make you do things that you have not been good at. Like, they watch the game, they watch ESPN, they're listening to Talking Buffalo, they know that James Cook ran for 216 yards. Do you not think that a priority for the Chiefs is going to be, let's get more guys? They know that guys aren't getting deep. Get more guys in the box. We're going to shut down James Cook, or kind of like the Bills would try to do against Henry, not as successful. But they want to take James Cook out of the game as much as they possibly can. So they're going to make you throw the ball. They're going to blitz. They watched that Atlanta game and how effective it was. The Bills didn't seem to have any answer for blitz beating. They better on Sunday, because you can bet your ass Spags is going to be doing some blitzing. So whether it's hitting Samuel and Moore and some of these guys on quick plays, or God forbid you get the running backs involved more in the passing game, which has kind of been a frustrating thing for me all season long, especially with Ty Johnson, the Bills are going to have to do some things outside of what they necessarily want to be able to do, I think, to win this football game.
Do you remember a few years ago when the conversation was about finding Josh easier answers?
Yeah.
They got to get back to that.
Yeah.
Finding him answers, knowing, all right, this guy's coming here, blitzers are coming here. Where can he go quickly under duress? You can't wait an hour and a half for a guy to get open.
Yeah.
You don't have 6 or 7 seconds, right?
Right.
When was the last time you saw Josh on one of those kind of blitz plays? 3, 5-step drop, boom, 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 get back, click, throw, slant, somebody gets a first down.
Been a hot minute.
It doesn't happen that often. So they've got to find a way. And maybe they don't have the horses, like I said. Maybe those guys aren't capable, but some of those guys have done things in this league. So it dumbfounds me a little bit that the passing game is as bad as it's been.
You know, in a perfect world, as far as I'm concerned, if you're the Bills offense, you want to be able to, again, I think running the football is fantastic, and I think the play action stuff and being efficient with the football is fantastic. It's not that you want to, I don't think you want to say sling it all over the place, because you have like one of the ultimate gunslingers, but they don't need to sling it all over the place. They just need to be more efficient and effective when they do. Yeah. They need to do it well enough that that's something you have to account for, which opens up, opportunities for Cook in the short passing game and Shakir to work his shit and things like that. That's what it comes down to me. And I just feel like defenses right now just have zero respect for the Bills beyond 8 yards, 10 yards, which is nuts to say when you have a quarterback who's as skilled as Josh Allen.
It almost feels like, in a way, he's neutered, right? Like you've got this, like you called it earlier, a unicorn, a guy who's capable. And I don't think people want to see him go back to throwing 20 touchdowns or 20 interceptions a year and just slinging it all over and just throwing it up. But there's got to be a balance between never putting it in harm's way or doing those sorts of things and taking risks, and then what we have now, right? Like, it's just, you got to find a happy medium, because I don't think it's the best for them to go back to Dable and 4 wide and doing that all day long, because then when that got stopped, you had no ground game. They swung so far in the opposite direction from what they were 4 or 5 years ago. It's incredible.
I think James Cook is the most consistently good player on this team so far this season anyway, certainly, for sure. I don't want to go away from James Cook.
No.
You got to have to beat teams like Kansas City, not only in week 8 or 9, but especially in January. You have to be able to beat teams in a variety of ways, and that's something that the Bills are definitely going to have to figure out. And if they get any outside additions, do you predict? I mean, prediction time, not for the game. Not for the game. We'll let you do that on your outlets over the next few days, because it's a little early for you to do that here. But do you predict by next Tuesday, 4 p.m., that the Bills have picked up an outside addition via trade?
Yes.
You do.
I think they showed last year that they were willing to do it. Now, Amari Cooper, it didn't work out perfectly, but I think it did slot guys in better spots, right? It kind of pushed everybody down one spot.
Yeah.
And then people know Amari Cooper, right? They had to account for him.
Yeah.
Whether he was great or not, he had a few moments.
Sure.
Then he got hurt. That has also played a lot of roles in these things. But I think that Brandon Beane, he knows the window is now. The AFC is still wide open. We've talked about the Chiefs being 5-3 right now, and other teams being in contention. But are you like incredibly scared of every team? And no. You still have as good a shot as any, but bolster it. Send a 2nd-round pick out and bring in a guy. Send a 3rd-round pick and do it again. Bring in Shaheed. If you could pry away Chris Olave somehow from the Saints, go for it.
I'm with you. I do think they're going to trade. I do think it's going to be for a wide receiver as well. And if you want to count Gabe Davis, which it certainly seems like he's trending towards playing for the Bills, then you might be looking at 2 different receivers on this team. Who's going to be the odd guy out? We'll have to wait and see. Last question for you, then I'm going to let you go. And by the way, shout out to everybody, not only who's listening or watching this whenever you do, but over 1,400 people here in the live. So I really appreciate that very much. It's not just Buffalo. Every fan base overreacts. That's just what fans do. But in this case, is the overreactions come 8 p.m. Sunday or into Monday morning going to be off the hook? Like, if the Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs, all is fixed. The Bills are going to be the 1 seed. Nobody's beating the Buffalo Bills, and they're going to go to the Super Bowl. Or if they lose, well, I hope you like playing on the road for the playoffs, because they're not winning this division. Which, to be fair, if they lose this game, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not a lot of hyperbole. But I guess, do you get a sense that the overreactions in this are just going to be insane one way or the other?
I don't, because I feel like we're in a weird spot with this game and this rivalry that people are kind of like, oh, here we are again. It's almost like a division game. Like, it doesn't seem like it has the exact same luster as it has in several years, because people have seen the Bills win in the regular season. So I don't think they're going to get quite so worked up. I think it also depends on how it happens, right? Like I said earlier, if Josh goes out and looks good and they lose a tight one because Mahomes has some magic at the end or something, people might be on the defense or McDermott or whatever. That's not anything new. If they go out and that offense looks putrid again and they lose, people are going to be really, really down.
Yeah. If you remember this last year, right around this time is when Josh went on his heater in Kansas City and Frisco and Detroit and the Rams.
Oh, my God.
Went off. I'll never forget Greeny on ESPN. It was that 3-game stretch. He goes, it's the greatest 3-game stretch of quarterback that he had ever seen in his entire life. Last point for me, anyway, is I really think coaching is going to matter. I think the players are there, and if they're not, you better find a way to make them there. I do like, and you talked about this earlier in the show, the way they were working some youth and just changes in on the defense. Hairston, I'm going to assume you expect more of the same, right, Hairston?
Yep.
You don't think he's going to take over full time this week on Sunday, but he'll play, right? And
Yeah.
Hancock will get opportunities.
I think so.
I like Hancock too.
Yeah,
By the way,
I thought he showed himself well. He had that touchdown saving tackle on
Yeah.
Dowdle, and that's important. Yeah, he saves the touchdown, but also Bills get a turnover later in that drive, right? That kind of stuff is important. So, we saw Bijan Robinson not get tackled in a similar situation, right? Maybe the Bills force a turnover or something silly happens, right? You got to have that kind of play. So I think, I think we'll see Hairston. I'm excited to kind of see him match up against Worthy, right? The fastest guys of the last 2 drafts. Pretty cool, right?
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see Harrison play at least as much as he did last week for sure. I think it's kind of in that phase. I think Dorian Strong was headed down that route before he got hurt too. With when it comes to Trey White, I'm excited about the game. I really am. It's only Wednesday night going into Thursday when people listen to this, and I'm already getting that.
It's fun, man.
Getting that bug. This is fun. I mean, if you're not enjoying it, I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, Bills fans live through the dog years of the drought, right? Where you never had games like this.
Yeah.
Like, we get to host New England on a Sunday night for the first time in 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Bills have games like this every year. So enjoy it, Bills fans, because it doesn't happen all the time.
Definitely. Before we get out of here, by the way, so I've mentioned several times throughout the show how you've been kind enough to come here right from a podcast to do this one live with me. Talk about the podcast with Spectrum. Let people know who are watching who might not might not know what your podcast is, where they can find it and all that stuff as well.
Yeah, we've got the Buffalo End Zone podcast, which we do typically twice a week. We'll do it usually Wednesdays, like media day for the Bills, and we'll kind of talk about what's gone on practice, preview the game ahead, some of the big storylines, everything that's going on. And then we have another one that we do right after the game. So we'll do a post-game show on TV. And then
awesome.
we'll do the podcast. So we have Stevie Johnson on our post-game show on TV.
Yeah.
And then later that evening we'll do a podcast. And now the Buffalo End Zone podcast is actually on TV, right? That's
cool,
the world.
dude.
That's the world we live in now. So
that is cool.
Yeah, on the Wednesday midweek Bills Buffalo End Zone podcast is actually on Spectrum News 1, Buffalo and Rochester, 9:00.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate your time. Make sure you guys go and check it out. And again, thank you everybody for watching. Again, whether you're watching live, whether you're going to watch us some other time or listen. Appreciate you guys very much. Big shout out one more time, Imperial Pizza. In fact, now that this is a wrap, we're going to actually left some wings over there. We're going to go finish those off. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. Talk to you. Brand new show coming up tomorrow.